Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal's space program, where, as you can probably see here, I've already sent down off-camera the 3 mint getters, and they are all happily mining away at Minmus. We don't actually need the fuel for anything just now, though, because our current projects are our Raven 1S solar gateway building that we're still working on, and the Griffin 3L. Now, both of these are a ways away, so let's actually take a quick look at what we need to expand the solar gateway for, because we can probably launch a module for that. So let's see, we have 26 years to do this, okay. We need to ensure that the station, blah, 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 blah. Facility supporting at least 24 Kerbals, auxiliary viewing cupola, auxiliary research lab. Interesting. 24 Kerbals. How many does it support right now? Actually, we should go check that. Because we can probably do this in a single launch. Getting it docked up will be interesting, but I think we can make it happen. So let's check in on the Solar Gateway quickly and see how many more people we need to put on this thing. So let's see here. We currently have 7. So that means that, let's see, 24 minus 7 is 17. So we need 17 Kerbals. And I'm guessing this is 2. This is 4, and this is 1. So yeah, that's 7 right there. Okay. So do we do this in a single launch or in 2 launches is the question. 17 crew is a lot of crew. There's no doubt about that. We do need to send up a cupola, so we're going to be starting with the, if I can find it here, the station core. We're going to modify that station core, of course. Here's the station core. And this is the old version of the SLS. We're probably going to ditch that. Don't save this. We're going to append in the SLS. Okay, this has the exploration upper stage, but it actually does not have our side boosters. So actually, I'm going to modify the SLS here to have the heavier side boosters. So we're going to ditch this, and we are going to put in the... Let's see here. We want the Clydesdale, I believe. Let's see. 1700. Yeah, the Clydesdale is the one we want. So we would just mount that right over here in mirror symmetry. Well, mirror-ish. That's not quite right in terms of the angle. Do we have angle snapping on? Yes, we do. That's still, I think, not quite right. It's kind of hard to see. Oh, I had it correct there, and then when I clicked, I moved the mouse. There we go. By the way, just to address what happened last episode, I have nuked sticky keys from orbit. There should not be another issue with that. In fact, let me just test that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'm spamming shift. Nothing's happening. Fantastic. Okay. So we'll have this be mounted somewhere around here. There we go. We will, of course, need to make sure that we get our struts back in, and I want to be in place mode for this. There we go, and then there should be another pair of struts up here, I think. In fact, let's just hop into the structural, and we'll put in struts here, here, as well as here. Okay, that should be nice and secure. We are, of course, going to need nose cones on these guys, these bad boys here. And we'll put on something like that. Okay, now we're going to need to make sure that this is itself aerodynamically stable. And I want to make sure that we have at least a little bit more. Actually... yeah, if we were to do something kind of like this, and then move this guy down to be about here. That should be pretty close. Right there. Okay, so we'll save that. That's the SLS. Now we will open up the solar gateway, ditch the old version of the SLS that's on here, and now we will append in the current iteration of the SLS with the exploration upper stage. Then we do not need this science or this materials bay here. Well, it's not a materials bay. We don't need this storage container. We can potentially put a few more of these hitchhiker storage containers on. Let's take a quick look here. Hitchhiker. There we go. So we need a total capacity of 17. This is a total capacity right now of 2, 6, 10, 11. We don't, I think, require use of this, and we don't have any crew currently, so this would be an uncrewed. If this is uncrewed, we actually do need an antenna on this. We can maybe bring in crew, or a pilot. We should probably send a transport over to the Minmus gateway to bring back, or rather, not gateway, the Minmus mining station, in order to bring back some crew. But for right now, we can put in potentially another hitchhiker, like so. This brings us up to, what, 15? So this would be sufficient capacity right here. Okay. We're going to have to check our, we're going to have to check our staging for sure. Let's see here. This is not correct in the slightest. Yeah, those go off there. This is the upper stage connector. Yeah, so this guy goes here, and then the engine plate would go here. This decoupler would go here. This decoupler would go up here. About like this. Is this correct? Let's see. Our main engines fire, our SRBs fire, our SRBs fall off, our engine plate and our decoupler falls off, and our interstage fires, well, not really interstage, but exploration stage, and then our exploration stage falls off, and we have a double decoupler here. Good to know. Good to know. We'll ditch the double decoupler, save ourselves a little bit of weight. Okay. So what's our thrust to weight look like? 1.57 and 0.6. That is definitely on the low side. There's no doubt about that. Do we truly need this connecting stage? I don't know. These maneuvers are going to be interesting. This is incredibly tall. We may want to think about doing this in 2 launches. Yeah, it's an option. If we were to do it in 2 launches, essentially, we would launch this. And then this would be a separate launch. Or maybe even we would launch... Oops, I did not mean to minimize the game. Maybe even we would launch this. And then a separate launch would be the 4 hitchhiker storage containers. This would, of course, need a proper way to dock up. So let me just put in the inflatable airlock. About like that. We'll just bump that down a little bit. There we go. This does not have any RCS on it for docking currently, and we would probably want some. So actually, I'm going to take this off quickly, and we'll put in an RCS tank. Is this the right size? That's too big, too big, too small. Just right. Okay, and then we'll move this down, and we will put in the RCS thruster blocks. Something like that. Okay. So I think that would be ready to launch if we wanted to go this route. And of course, we're going to call this the SG Auxiliary? Spelling is hard. We'll call it, we'll say that that's right. SG Auxiliary Module. Okay. So this would be, in theory, what we were launching. Let's check our center of mass and aerodynamics. That looks okay. I was just concerned about how tall it was. This should be more than enough DV, assuming we get into orbit, and with these numbers, we should be able to get into orbit. Okay. So in theory, this will get us halfway to completing this contract. Of course, actually rendezvousing is going to be exciting. But we can cross that bridge when we get there. So, the question is, do we want this to be piloted or remote? If we want it to be piloted, we're going to have to either bring back some crew, or we're going to have to complete this Griffin 3L's mission. Now that is currently 214 days away. Let's check in on the ice cream maker quick and see what we have here for crew. I know a lot of our crew is here right now. Now Valentina has decided that she's going to move in here. I don't know why. She's really not necessary, and I might override that decision. But we've got our two scientists who are actually relatively necessary for running this lab. So that's acceptable. We've got an engineer here as well. Okay. And on the Solar Gateway, that's a little harder to bring crew back from. I kind of feel like we should bring Valentina back. So, with that being the case, let's open up the SLS. We are going to use the auxiliary module that we just designed, but we're not going to launch it quite yet, because we need to bring back something relatively simple here. And actually, I just realized, the SG Auxiliary module, it doesn't have solar panels. It does. Never mind. Ignore me. Disregard that. Okay, so here's the SLS. We probably don't need the full SLS. We'll evaluate that in just a moment. So, this stage here, we're probably just going to have a heat shield. Actually, this is going to need to be an adapter. So we should reroute this. There we go. We take off this guy. And then we're going to have to run our dual adapter system. That's not the correct size. Nor is that one. Rockamax brand adapter, but that's not a fuel adapter. I am looking specifically for that fuel adapter, and I believe we used this one in conjunction with this one, or... I forget how we did this. We did find a fuel adapter that worked here. It was slightly awkward. I do recall that. Did we just do this? Maybe. I can't remember. It seems like it worked fine. So, fuel adapter. Only fuel adapters is what we're interested in right now. That's the one. And it worked like that. Okay, so now we need a 1.25 meter heat shield. Just like this, although we're going to need a decoupler on this. So we'll put a TD12 decoupler, 1.25 meter heat shield. Perfect. And this is essentially just a re-entry module, is all this is. So I think we're going to be able to bring a crew capacity of 3. We have this. We are going to need a small solar panel on this. So I'll just put in, say, 2 solar panels, or 1 solar panel like this. That should be fine. Except I want this to actually be a shielded solar panel, since this is intended to be a re-entry module. There we go. And then all we're going to do for parachutes here is we're going to have a Mark 16 up at the top, and then a pair of drogue chutes. Like that. Is this the crew hatch? I think this is on the crew hatch, isn't it? I can never remember which one's the crew hatch. We could simply mount it like that, though. Of course, we are going to need a docking port on this thing. Unless we want to only transfer via spacewalk, which does mean that this main chute has to be changed. And we would radial mount the chute. And I guess we could radial mount it something like that. Because then we're going to need a docking port. The inflatable airlock would go right here. Just bump that inward slightly. Just like that. And we'll just nudge these a little bit in their positioning. Oh, that's awkward. We'll just nudge these slightly. Actually, I'm just going to redo these. We'll place them about right here. And about right here. And ultimately, if this hatch is obstructed, we don't necessarily care. Now, this is way too much fuel to get this thing to the... to get this thing to where we're going. And I'm going to rename this to be the Miner Getter. There we go. Excellent. We'll save that. This is way more DV than we need. This is also probably way more thrust to weight than we need. We're going to need to evaluate our staging, of course. Yeah, this is not correct at all. That's more like it for the SLS. And then this guy decouples, and then the drogue chutes, and then the main chutes. Okay, so something like this. Now look at this thrust to weight. Kind of insane. Well, actually, that's not that insane. But this is way more than we need. That wouldn't even lift off. Well, it's massive overkill. But I guess we can use this same module to transport crew to and from the SLS, or rather to the Solar Gateway, relatively cheaply. We'll probably modify this a little bit if it's not if it's intended to go from the mining base to the SLS. I keep saying that, to the Solar Gateway. Yeah, that might be a thing. Like, this would be only intended for bringing people from the mining base back to Kerbal. Yeah, that's fine. So let's check our aerodynamics. Our aerodynamics are in the exciting category. Okay. Let's use the move tool, and we're just going to bring that down ever so slightly, and this down ever so slightly. There we go. That should be better. So this is a simulated launch. It has no remote. Yeah, it's not controllable. That's correct. And a good point. I intended for this to have We could put a small inline reaction wheel on here. Does this have a reaction wheel? It does not. Okay, but the control module that we'll be using actually does. And what we're going to be using here is the remote guidance unit, which does, I believe, have a built-in reaction wheel. It does. And that reaction wheel should be sufficient. We'll actually place that underneath the crew pod. There we go. So we'll save that. And I think we're good to do a simulated launch of this. So, let's just take this thing up into orbit. We shouldn't have any problems getting this guy into orbit. We'll throttle up. This is ridiculous. I broke my staging. Well, good thing this was a simulated launch. Yeah, I took this off and put it back on. Makes sense that that would break. I'm not even a little bit surprised. More disappointed in myself that I didn't double check that. Okay, I think we are now good to go. Also, it's a good thing we didn't have anyone in that. So, let's double check our staging this time. This is incorrect. Yeah, that's slightly better. This whole staging is actually broken. So this decoupler would go up over here, actually in its own thing, like that. Okay, so engines fire, SRBs fall off, engine plate, decoupler, exploration stage fires, exploration stage decouples, and then this is a heat shield, correct? Yes, it is. Fantastic. Drogue shoots, then main shoots, then the useless thing. Okay. I think now we're ready to do a simulated launch. I'm just sad that those parachutes didn't open in time. Actually, they never had a chance to open in time. It was never going to happen. Okay, SAS on. I think we're actually ready to launch this time. And off we go. Fantastic. Our thrust to weight is definitely on the decent side. So we will just get ourselves into orbit nice and quick. We've still got another minute on our SRBs. And we have a ludicrous amount of DV in this thing. Like, a kind of pointless amount of DV. But I guess we can use this as a station refuel at the same time. Our apoapsis is plenty high at this point. Let's just start turning our way over. This feels nice and stable. This feels really stable, actually. That's good. And let's just get over to the horizon now. Just completely flatten this out. SRBs are going to be falling off in 10 seconds. We're going to continue firing our main engines for a little bit after that, just to separate. Okay, we lost a couple of fins there, but it does not matter. Okay, we will go ahead and cut our throttle now. And put in an orbital maneuver. There we go. We will align to that maneuver node. And this is a 1:34 burn right now, but it won't remain that. Once we hit space, it'll be a little bit more efficient. Look at this. Look at this DV. This is insanity. This is too much. So we're going to need to extend our solar panels as soon as we're out of the atmosphere. Which is right about, well, another 5 kilometers. I never put that RCS back on, did I? Well, that's an issue. Good thing this is still a simulation, I guess. Because, yeah, I took the RCS off and I never put it back on. Wow, I'm just completely... I did not mean to go back to the Space Center. Now we can't revert that. I mean, I did mean to go back to the Space Center. I guess we can just deorbit it. I'll do that off camera. And I just want to add in, as soon as this loads up, that RCS. Because we do need that if we're going to dock up with any sort of precision. So we'll put the RCS back on. That's too large. It's kind of too small. Way too large. We'll go with this tank, I think. Actually, I think we'll put it on below. So we'll put on this tank. Like that. Move this guy down. There we go. And then we'll put in those RCS thrusters. Excellent. Okay, I'm just double checking our staging. Our staging is all messed up. So this needs to be main chutes. This decoupler would go down here. Main chutes go here. And then we would need another stage here. This would be drogue chutes. Drogue chutes go there. Excellent. And then we would need another stage, and that would contain this. Not this one. This one is the engine plate, and this one is the exploration stage decouple. Excellent. There we go. Now this is correct. So I'll save that. We're not going to launch that just yet. I'll probably do that off camera and get that to the same point that our current one is. But I'm going to need to just deorbit this guy. So I'm going to do that quickly. And most of this is going to happen off camera, but I'll just get this started here. So we're going to actually point prograde here. I changed my mind. We should have plenty of thrust to weight for retrograde. This thing does not like to point. I mean, that makes sense. There's no RCS. We're going to run out of electric charge, but that's fine. I'm just trying to recover as much of this as possible. We may be able to recover the exploration stage. I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out. We want to be on surface retrograde. We're now back in the Atmo, which is fine. We're about 50 kilometers up. We're about 40 kilometers up. I'm going to start us burning just to get us oriented correctly. There we go. We'll retract this solar panel so that it doesn't burn off. Oh, it was still broken by aero forces. Okay. Wasn't quite fast enough on that. And the question is, can we recover any of this? We do have thrust to weight over 1.0. But we're coming down awful fast. And we lost attitude. The answer is no. We can't recover any of this. That's fine. We still can't deploy these drogue chutes? Now we can deploy the drogue chutes. Way too late. That was very loud. Anyway, that was my mistake, and I'm willing to own that one. Even though it was a simulated flight, I messed it up. I'll take the hit. Next episode, When we come back, I'll have launched the replacement one into orbit, and we'll get started heading towards the Minmus mining station. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.